On a freezing winter night in 1900, the captain of the cargo steamship Archdor looked out into the Atlantic void and realized something was terribly wrong. His ship was navigating the dangerous waters near the Flannan Isles, a place where a massive, newly built lighthouse was supposed to guide them safely through the jagged rocks. But tonight, the light was dead. The multi-million candle power lens was dark. The captain logged the anomaly, assuming it was a minor mechanical failure. He had no idea that he had just become the first witness to the most terrifying locked room disappearance in maritime history. 3 experienced men had not just stopped working. They had completely dissolved into the island's thick gray fog. Out in the freezing, isolated waters of the Atlantic Ocean, off the outer edges of Scotland, lies a remote group of rocky islands known as the Flannan Isles. For centuries, local sailors called these islands a cursed place, filled with ancient folklore, phantom birds, and a strange psychological dread that drove men to madness. But in December 1899, a massive stone lighthouse was completed on the highest cliff of the main island, Eilean Mòr, built to guide massive merchant ships through some of the most treacherous, unpredictable currents on Earth. By December 1900, the station was manned by 3 highly experienced keepers, James Duckett, Thomas Marshall, and Donald MacArthur. Their job was simple but brutal: keep the giant oil burners clean and the light turning, no matter how hard the ocean roared. They were trained to handle isolation, storms, and extreme stress. Yet, within one single calendar year, the dark rocks of Eilean Mòr would claim them all without leaving a single trace. Due to continuous, violent winter storms, the mainland authorities couldn't send a relief ship immediately. It took 11 agonizing days for the relief vessel, the Hesperus, to finally reach the island on December 26th. When the relief keeper, Joseph Moore, stepped onto the slippery stone dock, he instantly felt a chilling dread wash over him. The usual welcoming protocols were completely ignored. The flagstaff was bare. No supply boxes were prepared. Moore hurried up the steep, winding cliff path and unlocked the heavy, iron-bound entrance door of the lighthouse tower. Inside, the atmosphere was completely frozen in time. The mechanical kitchen clock had run out of weight and stopped dead. A cold, half-eaten meal of salted fish and potatoes sat untouched on the table. The only sign of physical disruption in the entire room was a single wooden kitchen chair, knocked over flat onto the cold stone floor. Moore called out the names of his companions into the echoing stone halls, but the only response was the sound of the freezing wind outside. The 3 men had completely vanished into thin air. As investigators searched the quiet living quarters, they uncovered the official lighthouse logbook. The final entries, written by the hand of Thomas Marshall, were deeply disturbing and made no rational sense. On December 12th, Marshall wrote about a storm so violent and terrifying that he had never witnessed anything like it in his entire career at sea. He noted that the lead keeper, James Duckett, a hardened sea veteran known for his tough nature, was unusually quiet and paralyzed with fear. More shockingly, he wrote that the 3rd keeper, Donald MacArthur, a rugged former soldier famous for his brawling spirit, was sitting in the corner openly weeping. But here is the terrifying historical anomaly. Official meteorological records from the Scottish mainland later proved that there were no major storms in that area on December 12th or 13th. The weather was recorded as completely calm and clear. Were the keepers losing their minds due to isolation? The final entry on December 15th read simply, "Storm ended. Sea calm. God is over all." And after those heavy words, the logbook went completely silent. The superintendent of the Lighthouse Board, Robert Muirhead, moved the investigation outside to the rocky cliffs to search for clues. When he reached the island's west landing platform, he was met with a scene of absolute physical devastation. A massive iron railing, bolted deep into the solid granite rock, was twisted out of shape like a thin wire. A giant concrete block weighing over a ton had been violently ripped from its heavy foundation and thrown down the path. A strong wooden supply box, stored over 100 feet above the sea level, was smashed into tiny wooden splinters. Inside the lighthouse, two of the keeper's outdoor oilskin coats were missing from the wall pegs, meaning they had gone out into the dangerous storm. But the third keeper's coat was still hanging inside. Whoever left the tower last had rushed out in his bare shirt sleeves into the freezing Atlantic air, breaking a fundamental, strict maritime rule that no lighthouse keeper must ever leave the station completely unattended. With no bodies ever washed ashore, the international press began to speculate wildly, and terrifying psychological theories filled the public mind. Many believed that severe isolation madness had taken over the locked stone tower. Did one of the keepers secretly lose his sanity under the pressure of the quiet island, murder his two companions during a heated argument, throw their heavy bodies over the jagged cliffside, and then jump to his own death into the dark ocean? Others pointed directly to the missing code anomaly, guessing that a sudden, violent fight broke out inside the kitchen, forcing one man to sprint outside in absolute panic without his protective gear to escape a killer. The official superintendent report strongly dismissed these theories of human violence, stating the men were close friends, but without a single shred of physical evidence or eyewitness accounts. The true human dynamic inside that locked room remains completely unproven. The most widely accepted scientific explanation points away from madness and toward a terrifying ocean anomaly known as a rogue wave. Modern oceanographers have mapped the underwater geography around the Flannan Isles and found that the deep trenches can cause massive, unpredictable walls of water to suddenly form out of nowhere, even during relatively calm surface conditions. The theory suggests that on the afternoon of December 15th, Marshall and Duckett were down at the West Landing trying to secure loose equipment and heavy ropes near the water. Suddenly, a monstrous rogue wave swept over the 100-foot cliff, instantly dragging both men into the freezing abyss. Seeing his lifelong friends dragged into the ocean from the high lighthouse window, MacArthur must have panicked. He knocked over the kitchen chair in a frantic rush, forgot his heavy coat, and sprinted down the slippery cliffs to save them, only to be swallowed by a second giant wave. It was a tragic, fatal chain reaction accident caused by the unpredictable fury of the sea. Today, the Flannan Isles Lighthouse stands completely automated, operated silently by computers from hundreds of miles away on the Scottish mainland. No human keepers will ever live or work in that lonely stone tower again. But the mystery of the three men who vanished into the gray fog remains carved deep into the history of maritime folklore. Their names are still remembered by sailors who passed those dark rocks at night. Thank you for watching this full historical deep dive. If you love unedited history and unsolved real-world mysteries, make sure to hit that subscribe button right now. Leave a comment with the word light below to show you made it to the absolute end of the file, and I will see you in the next investigation. Stay safe on the open waters.